hyenas. And this is actually, I'm going to tell you a little bit about this big project that's going on with all of these people. This is actually Franz Jensen that you saw talk about dolphin signature whistles yesterday. So he's involved also. But this is actually a project to understand how collective action is mediated by communication in animal societies. And most of the work, as you probably know, that's been done on collective action has been done on animals like these, birds and flocks or fish in schools, where there are no differentiated relationships within the group. So we actually thought that it would be interesting to look at some communication as it's mediating collective action in animals that do have differentiated relationships. Not nearly as many as the types that Mickey was just telling you about in elephants, but these animals do have a lot of different kinds of relationships. This is all a project run by Ariana Strandberg-Peskin, who's the PI on this. And what we're doing is actually, David had sent me an email inviting me to this conference. And I said, oh, wow, I just got back from this other meeting in Germany, which we call the communication and coordination across scales. We call it kick-ass because it's a kick-ass project. But we've got these 3 different species. So we've got spotted hyenas and meerkats and coatis. And these are all they're all mammalian carnivores. They all live in societies where there are differentiated relationships, but they have different degrees of spatial cohesiveness. So if you've anybody seen Meerkat Manor, you know that meerkats are always within sight of one another. They move across this plane like a big amoeba. They're really cohesive. Coatis are intermediate, and hyenas are wildly fission-fusion, as I'll show you. So they spend a lot of their time actually, even though they belong to these big social groups, they spend a lot of their time alone. So here are the 3 species. We've actually now collared entire groups of all of these, and we're just starting to mess with analysis of the data. The meerkats are incredibly cool because you don't even need to anesthetize them. You can come up to them and they will just put their neck up like this, and then you can put a magnetic collar on, and it's amazing. Hyenas are much bigger production, as you can imagine. But what I thought I would do is tell you a little bit about the study system that we work in, and a little bit about the basic biology of the hyenas, then tell you a little bit about how the Kick-Ass project is sort of unfolding here, and show you where we are at the moment. So these are animals that occur all over sub-Saharan Africa, literally pretty much everywhere south of the Sahara, except in the wettest parts of the continent in the rainforest. But they live in Okavango Delta, they live in the deserts of Southern Africa, they live in montane forests, and where I study them is here in the open grasslands in Eastern Africa. And there have been long-term studies done on them both in Southern Africa and in our work in Kenya. There's another group that actually works on hyenas in Tanzania. But I've been working for many years in the Masai Mara National Reserve, which is this beautiful open grassland area that is 2 degrees south of the equator, and it's gets year-round sunshine, as you can see, and that supports a lot of grass, which supports loads of herbivores, which in turn support high densities of carnivores. So we have been, I went out there in May of 1988 thinking I would do a dissertation length project and move on, and I'm still there because these animals are so weird and interesting. And we have worked with a number of different social groups within the Mara. The Mara is about 1,500 square kilometers. It's bounded on the south by the Serengeti National Park in Tanzania, and there are a whole bunch of private conservancies surrounding the outside. But we did a pilot study here in 2016 and 2017 in this group, and then collared an entire clan between October and December of 2022. So this is an area of really remarkable biodiversity and high densities of wildlife. As I said, we're 2 degrees south of the equator, so the temperature regime remains pretty similar year round, but we get 2 bouts of rainfall because we're so close to the equator that the intertropical convergence zone passes over us twice here and only once down here. So these guys have 1 long rainy season. We have 2 shorter ones, and that drives this thing called the Great Migration, which is where roughly 1 million wildebeest and several thousand zebra go from the southern part of the Serengeti to up to our park in Kenya. And so that means you can look out sometimes and hardly see any herbivores, and other times you look out and the whole place is just packed with them. So we have been working with all these different animals since 1988, and we know every individual by its pattern of unique spots and ear damage and so forth. We spend several hours every day, mainly around dawn and dusk, sitting in cars like that one. And the hyenas they've all grown up with this car in their environment, so they're very well habituated to it. And most of what we do is observe them. And one of the things that we have recorded very religiously since the study began is every single occurrence in our presence of any interaction that looks vaguely like this. This is a very low level fight between Coatis over here and Oliver Twist. Coatis has just brought her little black cubs to the communal den. Oliver Twist wants to meet them, and Coatis is lunging up out of its hole to make her stay away from the cub. So Coatis has got her eyes wide open, ears cocked forward. She's lunging up out of this hole. If her butt was out of the hole, I'm sure you could see her tail was up and bristled as well. Meanwhile, look at Oliver Twist. She's doing exactly the opposite. Her ears are plastered back, tail's down between her legs, and she is exhibiting all the classic signs of hyena appeasement behavior or submission. And because we've recorded every single one of these types of interactions, we've got a database that now has many tens of thousands of these interactions in there. And what that means is that we can actually generate a very clear picture of the structure of the society throughout any given time period within our larger study. And so what I've done here is to take out about 50 hyenas between Bailey and Midget, just so you can see better what's going on. But then we've ranked these individuals as animals who win in fights, from Murphy, who wins against everybody else in the society, down to Boston, who can't beat anyone else. And the same individuals are listed as losers across the top. So the numbers in the matrix just represent the number of fights that we've seen where there was a clear winner and a clear loser. And as you can see, there are very few fight outcomes that are inconsistent with the rank orderings that we've identified here. And this is very much like what you'd find in a macaque society or baboon society, with one interesting twist, which is that all the breeding males are here and all the breeding females are up there ahead of all the males. And when we first went out there in the 80s, our goal was to understand social development and understand how females come to dominate males in this weird society and how animals know where they're supposed to slot in. Well, it turns out their mothers intervene on their behalf, so that Navajo here would intervene on behalf of her kids, and so they could dominate Bailey and everybody below Bailey. But they keep those ranks pretty much as long as they live in the clan where they were born. So you've got all sorts of stuff going on there. Okay, so we have, in addition to individuals having ranks, all the members of a particular matriline present in the clan at once occupy adjacent rank positions in the hierarchy. So here's the member of the alpha matriline, which tends to be the largest just because they have the highest priority of access to food and so forth. And so as in, oh, sorry, yeah.
So the fights, are they a fight to the death?
No.
Then they would...
No, sometimes they can hurt each other very badly, but no, I've never seen anybody fight to the death. Well, I've seen an adult kill a cub, but that's, you wouldn't call that a fair fight by any stretch of the imagination. But most of the males who are doing all the breeding are coming in from somewhere else. They all leave voluntarily. Nobody chases them out, but they all change groups. And they can go from, if Brackenschilder up there has a son, he's going to go from being ranked 2 or 3 in the whole clan down to 70th, because he slots in at the very bottom of the hierarchy in the new clan that he joins. Yeah.
How do you identify individual hyenas?
But by their unique spots. So they're black when they're born, but as soon as they molt, they have spots that they keep the same pattern for their whole life.
So it's a photographic, right?
Yeah, that's right. So our main research tools are binoculars and a photo album for each clan. But so as in elephant societies, we can see that there's all these different ways in which hyena social relationships vary, both with kinship and social rank, also sex and age. So as it turns out, resource competition, outcomes of it are strongly dependent on an individual's rank. You can see that on this kill, some hyenas are up there eating, and there are other ones who are just hanging around in the periphery. Those are the lower ranking ones, and they get a much lower priority of access to food, so they get to eat a lot less than their higher ranking counterparts. And that has enormous repercussions in virtually every aspect of the animal's biology. Here I'm introducing you to Barbara and Batman. These are 2 6-month-old hyenas who were born 5 days apart. And this is what they looked like when they were 6 months old. Barbara's the daughter of our alpha female, the highest ranking one. Batman's the daughter of our lowest ranking female. And she's growing way, way, way more slowly because Barbara's mother can go have her fill of whatever food she wants. She can usurp food from anybody else in the society, translate it into milk. Barbara effectively has access to ad lib food. But that affects when breeding starts. So here I'm showing you the age when females first give birth. This is the cohort where Barbara and Batman were. This is Barbara, So she starts, before she's even 2.5, she's already produced her first litter here. This is Batman. So she was 72 months old when she had her first litter. This one was 2.5. And so you can see that the length of the reproductive lifespan is longer. And not only do they breed for longer periods, but the high-ranking females also produce more offspring per year, and they keep their cubs alive more successfully. And so there are just enormous fitness consequences to an animal's social rank. And here I'm showing you what happens over 40 years, where a guy who worked with the same population of hyenas as we did for his PhD here at Cal, Lawrence Frank, went out there in 1979 and he found 19 adult females present in the clan. And here we're looking at the adult females present in the clan at decade-long intervals after that. And what you can see is, whereas K-Bot up there was only one of 19 females in 1979, now her descendants occupy, what's that, 60% of the clan? And there are only descendants of 4 of those original females left, because these gray triangles represent the extinction of entire matrilands. So it's really pretty dramatic what the fitness consequences are of social rank. Oh, sorry. Yes.
Yeah. So you mentioned terrible negative fitness consequences of social rank. You mentioned that when a male leaves and joins another clan, they drop to the bottom of the social rank. So I guess my 2 questions are, why do females who are at the bottom never leave? And why do males at the top ever leave?
Right. I think the males leave because the females won't mate with them in their natal clan. I think there's some sort of kibbutz effect or something that's taking place there. But it turns out the sons of high-ranking females do much better when they move to a different clan than the sons of low-ranking females. So something's happening during their early development that shapes their whole reproductive futures. And, we actually had radio collars on a lot of these guys doing a study of dispersal between 1993 and 96. And we had 12 high-ranking sons and 12 low-ranking sons. And a year after they all dispersed, all 12 of the high-ranking sons were doing just fine in their new groups. All 12 of the low-ranking sons were dead. So, it really puts them on a very challenging course.
Can I ask one too? Because that you skipped over 40 years of data, which was unbelievable. Can we go back to that descending cascade plot of amazingness?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, this is amazing.
I know.
But can we extrapolate forward another 3 decades?
Well, yeah, but
I just wonder, at what point does is the fitness of the clan become a problem because everyone's a descendant of?
Not very often, because all the males are changing groups, and so there's a huge amount of gene flow that's moving around. The genes are moving around with the males. So even though this now her descendants occupy all of these rank positions in the female hierarchy, but
the genetic diversity is enough because of the males.
It's really quite high, yeah.
But none of the females ever start a new group, like if they're BS here at the bottom?
Yeah, we've had a couple of incidents where the local Maasai will, for example, poison, some hyenas go after their livestock. To retaliate, they put poison in a carcass, and then all these individuals get priority of access to it, so they die. And then, you definitely see some shifting around when there's a catastrophe in the high-ranking lineages. But, I would have expected the K-But's descendants to occupy all of this by now, but somehow is this, what is happening here? Was this good luck, good mothering? What did she do right? That she's the only one of these low-ranking females who has any descendants present in the clan. Anyway, I just think that's a trip. And yeah, love that figure. Okay, and then the last thing I just need to tell you is a little bit about their life history. So female hyenas, they all breed. And so they breed year round, and they keep their cubs at a communal den where all the animals who have cubs in the sort of 1 to 12 month age range will bring them here. They give birth in an isolated natal den and keep their cubs there for just a few weeks. They then move them to communal den where they stay until they're 11 or 12 months typically. Then they start traveling around the home range, originally with their moms and later on their own. When they're 24 months, both sexes go through puberty, and then females are philopatric. They spend their whole lives in the natal clan where they were born. But by contrast, almost 100% of surviving males at some point after puberty will leave and go to a neighboring clan. And if they're lucky, they actually may get incorporated into the clan and actually get to sire some cubs there. So this is the family hyena day. This is all that's left of it. It was once a very big family, but these aren't dogs. They're not cats. They're most closely related to mongooses. But there's 4 extant hyena species. The aardwolf, which is a little 12-kilo diminutive hyena that has lost all its teeth basically and it just eats termites. Then we have striped and brown hyenas here, which, as the artist is showing you, rely mainly on carrion for their survival. They will make opportunistic grabs at prey, as the artist is showing you here. But the only one of these hyenas, probably in the history of hyenas, to ever go after live prey like this and still have this big, heavy, bone-cracking morphology are spotted hyenas, which live in these big groups. And so there's these 4 unique aspects of them. They're unique with respect to all carnivores, but they're even unique. Spotted hyenas are unique with respect to none of the other hyenas having these traits either. So they're very good hunters. This is the typical menu of things available to our hyenas in the Mara. And they are very good. See, this, like the 60-kilo hyena is bringing down a prey animal that weighs 3 times its body mass all by itself. They're really great hunters. They can run, we've driven along behind them at 55 kilometers an hour, so they can keep up a pace like that for a long time. And in Southern Africa, they even go after really dangerous creatures like oryx. But the fact is that cooperative hunting is one of the types of collective action that we want to look at in the CCAS project, because it's quite clear from some work we did back in the 90s that if you add a single this guy can bring down wildebeest, but the probability of actually catching one goes up almost 20% if somebody else is helping that one. So very good hunters. These animals also, as you probably are aware, these are female spotted hyenas. This is the clitoris. It's enormously elongated to form this fully erectile pseudopenis kind of structure. And here are the vaginal labia that are folded over and filled with connective tissue there to form this structure that really remarkably looks like a scrotal sac. Nobody understands why they have these traits, but the fact is that coercive sex doesn't happen in spotted hyenas. So these animals live in great big social groups called clans. The first guy to go out and study them systematically had come from Scotland, so we got to call them clans. Anyway, they can range in size from anywhere about 10 or 11 hyenas to over 125 of them. And all the members of a clan know each other individually, and they know each other by sight, by smell, by sound. We've done loads of relevant experiments to say that. They all rear their cubs together in a communal den, and they all defend a common territory, a piece of real estate over which their mobile prey move. But interesting to me is that the spotted hyena societies don't look anything like the societies of any other mammalian carnivore you can think of. So here are meerkats again and coatis. Then there's canid groups and lion prides, but these are all relatively small groups composed of members of the same sex that are closely related to one another. So they're small groups and they have loads of kin, and typically you're only interacting with kin in those groups. But what we have in spotted hyenas is something that's sort of remarkably convergent with the societies of baboons and macaques, which is to say that overall relatedness within groups is very low. We have multiple overlapping generations present at any given time, multiple adults of both sexes, male dispersal and female philopatry, matrilineal kin subgroups form, and the hierarchical rank relationships are just like what you find over here, and it's all evolved convergently. And we've been actually studying their sounds for quite a while, and until recently, this was how we collected them, just sitting out there with shotgun microphones. I'm gonna play you a few of these vocalizations. If I can make this work, I'll see if it'll work. Yeah, okay, so here's a whoop. This is a bout of whoops. There's a whoop. There's another one. This is a slow whoop. So this is their long distance vocalization that they use to do all of these functions. This is a male slow whooping because the males seem to do this just to advertise their presence to the members of a social group. But they actually, every individual's whoop is unique, and they know each other by their whoops. They can tell who's talking. Okay, and so we know that they can actually increase the urgency with which other hyenas are called by shrinking that interval, and it just comes really fast when they're very excited or scared about something. But so here are these are all the measurements that we can take of a particular whoop bout here, and they don't howl at the moon like wolves do. Instead they put their faces down against the substrate and seem to use that as a sounding border. So these are groans. So this is another, this is like a come hither vocalization, at least that's how I think of it. Very deep voice. I'm trying to move on. Okay, and here, these are called laughing hyenas, and here's the reason. Most. That's the giggle. So anyway, there's loads of other ones, and I'm just showing you some spectrograms of some of these other vocalizations. And we had originally thought that these were discrete signals, but in fact, they really grade into one another. And you can actually see that they're forming groan whoops or groan grunts in these funny kind of hybrid calls. So what I want to focus on in this, telling you a little bit about the CCAS project, is these three kinds of collaborative actions or collective actions, which are hunting behavior that we just talked about, clan wars, which is where two teams of hyenas in neighboring clans come and fight, usually over a carcass, and then interactions with lions. And lions are very dangerous to hyenas. They kill a lot of hyenas. But so one of the questions we're asking about hyenas coordinating group hunts is whether they're even communicating at all with one another, or it seems to me, watching them hunt, that they could easily be using stigmergic organization of the hunt, where they're just following simple rules of thumb, like keep the prey animal between you and another hyena, or some simple things like that. But there's certain other types of interactions, like clan wars and interactions with lions, where they clearly are very heavily communication based. And so we want to understand how group hunts are initiated, and they're often initiated at scenes like this. Is a communal den in the evening where one female's bringing home a big chunk of giraffe that she's stumbled upon. But so one of the questions we want to know is, okay, are hyenas like Lassie? Most of you are too young for this, but if you grew up watching Lassie on TV, you'll know that when her little boy Timmy falls down the well, she will go back and get Timmy's parents and very patiently to start towards the door. And if they don't come, it's just like what Mickey and Joyce were describing with the elephants. She'll just turn around and wait. Yeah.
In a pack, are they vocalizing?
No. No, and it seems like it would be maladaptive, because then everybody could say, oh, the hyenas are hunting over here, I'm going to go someplace else.
Oh, that's what I thought. So
Yeah.
they're not coordinating by communicating.
Well, they might be coordinating by communicating, but not vocally. So they do, and so do a lot of carnivores. They do these, what we call them greeting ceremonies, to get all excited and get everybody on the same page emotionally before they set off to do something like go on a hunt or engage in a clan war. But we don't even know whether they're using specific landscape features to hunt. Craig Packer always says that his lions would form, they would use where creeks came together and formed a cul-de-sac. The lions are smart enough to use that as a fence, basically, into which they chased prey. So do hyenas do that? I wouldn't be surprised. But the fission-fusion nature of their society allows them to go apart to do stuff like hunting, because if you're a low-ranking hyena, you really want to go off by yourself to eat, because if there's a high-ranking hyena there with you, you won't get anything at all. And then there are clan wars and these interactions with lions. And we find that group size varies a lot depending on what the nature of the activity is. So here, conflict with lions, here's clan wars. And so those have, on average, a lot of hyenas present, 15 or 16, and all the way down to hunting, where the average hunting group size is something like 1.6. So they really don't spend much time there. So let's see. Yeah, so in both clan wars and lion hyena interactions, we have a lot of communication going on. I'm going to show you a couple of videos, and what you'll see is that, well, especially in the lion one, where the hyenas start up, a couple of hyenas stumble across these three lions who have actually killed a zebra, and they're eating it. And those hyenas, the first ones to arrive, call in loads of other hyenas, and very soon you have tons of hyenas there, and they're making just a phenomenal amount of noise. And as soon as they get rid of those lions, silence. It's really pretty cool. Anyway, almost all these events occur where something's been killed, like somebody runs down a wildebeest just over the border in somebody else's territory or whatever. So individuals sometimes get to eat later, but others don't get to, because they're too low ranking. So why do they cooperate? All these mysteries exist here. And okay, I want to apologize for the cinematography, but you sort of got to get the sense of excitement from the person who's in the back seat trying to film this clan war situation. We've got two teams, a big team, the pond clan over here and the Kinesium clan over here. And there's a lot of back and forth waves of action. That's a lot of hyenas. Yeah, so you can see there's all kinds of opportunities to cheat there. You don't need to participate in this. You can go back if you want. That's very fast. Okay, now let me just show you this scene with interacting with lions. And remember, a single slap from even a female lion can cripple a hyena. So you really are really quite dangerous for them. But here, let me see if I can make this go. So here's the nice lions eating their delicious run.
It's just kill it now, very fresh. That's why that time we tell you, you don't know what these signals are.
So they're calling for help. Okay. Hyenas continue to come in from everywhere.
3 females. See, they start coming now. Yeah. That's a mock check, trying to test them. Take them out on the ground so that they travel. Come on, Hyenas, check over. For a group of Wow. That was amazing. I've never seen this in my life.
Nasty lions. All right. Yeah, so let me tell you a little bit about this kick-ass project. So we had been for many years putting radio collars on hyenas. We originally put just regular old VHF ones on, then started buying Vectronics collars with VHF and GPS capabilities. And then here's R.A. Strandberg Peskin again with the kind of collars that we had made to deploy on every single hyena in a social group. And so here's the battery pack for the GPS and the VHF. And then there are there's a soundboard and microphone in one of those things. And there's another one up there that also has accelerometer, magnetometer in it. So, and here's an automatic drop off that you can release remotely from inside the vehicle. So these are very fancy collars. They've got inside, they have, as I mentioned, they give you a GPS fix every second as for the whole life of the collar. They record everything the hyena says or hears for the whole life of the collar. And it tells you based on the accelerometer data, how it moved in response to what it heard. So here's what the collar looks like on a finished hyena. Here's Franz putting a collar on. And there's the finished product. And here, let me show you the results of our pilot study. In the fall of 2016, we put these fancy collars on 6 because I didn't believe that they would work. I said, seriously, you got a collar with a microphone that hyenas can go stick their heads in a bloody giraffe and come out covered with gunk, or go lie in a mud puddle all day and they'll still work? And they said, yeah, we think we do, because we figured this out for working on marine mammals. And so anyway, we have 2 high rankers, 2 middle rankers, and 2 low rankers here. Keep an eye on Magenta. She's this purple dot. She's a real loner. But so here's just the whole month of January 2017. And they're covering an area here that's about 70 square kilometers. Here's Magenta being a loner by herself, but the communal den was right here at this time, and then it moved over here. So they're coming together to form these social units, and they all interact and familiarize themselves with each other's cubs and whatnot. And then they go apart to do things like hunt or feed. So then, since that was successful, we actually then decided to move forward with immobilizing all 25 members large enough to wear a collar in this other clan in the Mara. And so now we've got all 25 hyenas collared, and all the collars turned on January 1st. We took them all, they started to die about midway through February, and then we took them all off by the 1st of March. And so we've found that the magnetometer and accelerometer data fall into these 3 nice categories of very slow movement, which is typically they're lying around sleeping, and medium activity, and then high levels of activity. And all the individual profiles also have all 3 of those peaks. And so from the accelerometer data, you can actually see that they're pretty active between about 9 o'clock. Yeah, what's that? Yeah, 8 o'clock at night, and sorry, this is 8 o'clock at night. Yes, and this is 6 o'clock in the morning. So this is their main sleep period here, except this is obviously a day when something exciting was happening up there, because you have these blips of red activity there, even in broad daylight. Then what we were able to do was to run playback experiments. And what we could do is we had 3 categories of whoop vocalizations that we had recorded, and then we could all doctor so that they were all, exactly the same length and the same yes, had the same parameters. But then we had one set of hyenas was from a clan that lives over here. And that's the voice that you're going to be here. This is the speaker. It's going to turn yellow when the sound turns on. And then here's 2 hyenas that are lying next to each other. And their reactions are just wildly individualistic. So you can actually see this one is actually going to engage in like a border patrol all by herself. She's going to go way over here and come back. And these other individuals are sort of just scattered around in the habitat. But yeah, now you can see that pink girl is moving, still no sound. We've got another one here and another one over there. So we've got alien hyenas from the clan next door, hyenas from this clan, and hyenas from basically a third group that they should be familiar with and not have a problem with. Okay, so the sound came on, and now this one is just going to go on this gigantic circuit. This one's going to go back to sleep under her bush. This creek over here is literally, yeah, the boundary of the territory. Quite a reaction. So now what we're able to do, since we've taken all the collars off, and we've done this on all 3 of the species now, and we can start to bring the data together. So sound data with the magnetometer and the locational data. And we have whoops that in an ideal world would look like this. And this is a female. She's heavier, brawnier than the male is over here, and her voice is deeper typically. And we find that the frequencies of their voices vary with their chest girth, probably with other parameters as well. But anyway, we have this pretty dramatic variation based on sex and age. So you can actually tell who's whooping. Is it a male or female? Is it a kid or not? Based on that. And here's what the guy who's actually doing the artificial intelligence work for us is a German physicist. And I love this because this is his slide. How do the data look? So here he goes. Here's some vocalizations without much deterioration in noise. So you've got a call there and a call there. And here you've got some noise. And here is you got what we see all the time, which is the hyenas are constantly walking through grass. The meerkats are constantly digging for scorpions and other invertebrates. And they, if there's a ton of stuff here. And Shane had asked the other day, was there a particular part of this whole process that's extremely challenging? Yes, it's finding the time to listen to all of this stuff. So it just takes forever. And so we've got, all these meerkats and all these coatis and all these hyenas now with tons and tons of data. And somebody's going to have to do a lot of listening. Okay, that's really all I wanted to say. So I will just say thank you. Yes.
We'll start off. Thank you for the talk. It was incredible, actually. You said before that each individual has its own whoop, but is this exclusively vocalized by the individual, or do the other members of the clan also vocalize?
No, we have no reason to believe that hyenas can do what Mickey was showing you that elephants can do. No, I think it's a general broadcast, and all the members of the clan know, and they typically will also know, the voices of their other neighbors. And so if you play a neighbor's voice from inside the territory, they get all upset. And if you play the neighbor's voice from where the neighbor lives, nobody cares.
So they recognize, but they don't vocalize.
Yeah, they will recognize that. Yeah, okay, that's Joe Schmo next door.
Okay, thank you.
I have a comment and then a question. Again, that figure is so incredible. I don't for the computer scientists in the room, that's like GPT-3 if you had to write all of the text that went into generating it in the first place. So that's amazing, and I'm going to put it on my wall. But the playback experiment, the orange animal that did the patrol versus the blue one who did not. What was the rank status between the two of them?
Faye was middle ranking, and I can't remember what the blue one was, but she's younger. And so I think part of her response was that she's just a young adult female whose everything is sort of new and exciting.
Okay, cool. Fascinating. I remember France telling me about this, we're going to put continuous audio on whatever, I think 24 animals. And I was like, okay, well, annotation is going to be a beast.
Exactly.
And then that was 2017. So machine learning exploded. Anyhow, it's amazing.
Yeah, no, it's been very exciting for us, but we need all those different kind of calls. We're hoping that somebody can develop the software to pull those things out so we don't really have to physically listen to all the thousands of hours of swishing through grass.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's like an important thing that came out of today is like all the biologists are facing similar challenges in terms of what seem like obvious machine learning problems, right? And I think that's what's amazing about SETI, but to the room, there's that challenge. Those few challenges are everywhere in animal bioacoustics.
First a question and then something about that. I'm biased towards audio because that's what I do. But, it occurred to me when you said that, they don't vocalize to each other to coordinate while hunting. To what extent are you aware of other communication channels like scent or I don't know what else that they might be using?
Yeah, well, we know that their vision is basically as good as ours. And we know that they recognize each other based on vision because you can have a whole bunch of hyenas sitting at the den and somebody's approaching from hundreds and hundreds of meters away downwind. So it can't be a scent that they're responding to. And there's no sound. So the appropriate hyenas at the den, the cubs of that female get very excited seeing that she's coming from a long way up. So they clearly, recognize each other visually. We also have done, we've looked at their microbial communities and the microbial communities in their scent glands vary dramatically amongst the clans. So each clan has its unique scent, evidently. And then the hyenas, we've also done experiments where we know that male hyenas, for example, can discriminate between a pregnant, the scent glands secretion of a pregnant female versus the same female when she's lactating. I mean, there's some pretty subtle cues being played there.
Okay, and so now the follow-up on this. So it seems like, you know, it's a little bit of a chicken and an egg problem. It's, you would like to have, there's this repeated thought of, wouldn't it be nice if something was marking up all of our data for us and segmenting it? And of course, our first thought is, wouldn't it be nice if you gave us nice marked up segmented data to learn from? If we use something like, I mean, there's obviously machine learning techniques that can be used to sort of automatically cluster things. And at some point, I don't know how much any of you have used that kind of stuff, unsupervised learning techniques to automatically say cluster or long audio recordings. Would any of you have any comments on how well that has worked for you?
The clustering algorithms that we've worked with these hyena vocalizations don't work terribly well, actually.
My experience is different because we have less frequency modulated calls, but all of the species that have this complex frequency modulation and the parameters you can extract haven't necessarily always clustered into what were perceived as different call types. So I think it's a two-sided coin of investing a lot of time in extracting new types of features versus the time it takes to do that extraction. So, but I totally get, having worked with SETI now, the issue of having a nice data set on which to build the annotator and the chicken and the egg problem. It's for sure there, yeah.
Thank you. That's just fascinating. One question maybe I've missed, but what's the upward? Is there upward mobility in the societal structure?
Yeah, there is some actually, and yeah, what we found is that the females who have coalition partners with whom they regularly interact and form coalitions against other hyenas, they actually are likely to raise themselves up, even if it's just a rank position or two. That can have a huge effect on your fitness. So yeah, there is some upward mobility. Mostly, most of the interactions you see are just like coatis and Albert Twist, where they're basically trying to maintain the status quo. Don't want anybody outranking you that doesn't right now.
Great, thank you. Any other questions? That was a really wonderful talk, and I really love to hear that the marine mammal crossover with this work, and you're really exciting. So, well, thank you. So we're going to now break until